Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 290 based on novel. So let's start. Are you from the ancient family? The voice of Xiao Yan's surprised words swirled over the mountain forest, and the mood in his heart fluctuated as well. Hearing the speech, the people of the ancient family present at the moment couldn't help but turn their lips. Emperor Seal is definitely an undeclared skill of the ancient family. Many people in the middle region know whether it can be anything new. While thinking like this in their hearts, many people present looked at Xiao Yang as if they were treating a fool. Xiao Yang didn't pay attention to this, but fell into a short meditation. Then he realized that it must be a strong man of an ancient clan who returned to the clan after coming to Yuanwu continent. After all, even he can meet the so-called people of the same clan in this alien continent. The ancient clan is one of the 8 ancient tribes in the fighting mainland. With this in mind, everything naturally makes sense. On this continent, only the people of our ancient family can master the decision of the Emperor's seal. Don't you believe it? On the ground below, the two middle-aged men looked at each other and were suspicious of Xiao Yang's words. The latter seemed to be surprised by their identity. It's not that I don't believe it. I just didn't expect to see the Emperor's seal here. Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang shook his head and smiled. After a little hesitation, he looked at the two middle-aged people again. In the suspicious eyes of the two people, he slowly raised his hands, linked his fingers, and made familiar decisions, which were played out with the sweep of his fingertips. When the two men saw the familiar seal in Xiao Yang's hand, the expression on their faces also gradually solidified. This is Kaishan's seal. Turn over the sea. Cover the ground. Annihilate the sky. Ancient imperial seal. 5 special seal knots were made in Xiao Yang's hands, and a strong energy was condensed in front of him. Finally, it turned into a huge golden handprint and hung in the void in front of Xiao Yang. With the flashing light on it, an extremely terrible energy breath was diffused from there. While the handprint was condensed, the faces of all the ancient people present could not help showing their horror. Especially the two middle-aged people, who were already pale, were shocked by the handprint and stared at the action in Xiao Yang's hand, as if they were afraid that he would form the 6th seal. However, fortunately, the seal knot on Xiao Yang's hand was completely terminated until the 5th seal, but even so, their hearts were still extremely shocked. You, sir, who on earth can master the imperial seal of our ancient family? The two middle-aged men stared at Xiao Yang on the void with extremely serious eyes. Under the deterrence of the handprint, at the moment, even their voice trembled a little. The 5 seals have been completed. If the black-robed youth really came for the other 3 seals, wouldn't they have become his target at the moment? Once the fingerprints fall, they won't even have the possibility to resist according to their current state. Seeing the dignified look on the faces of the two people, Xiao Yang smiled faintly and turned away the fingerprints in front of him. He said faintly, "Don't worry, I won't hurt you. If I really have any plans, you can't continue to stand here. As for the imperial seal, it was given to me by my most important person. Now, your trouble has been solved. Let's go." After that, Xiao Yang turned around with a little complex color in his eyes and wanted to go towards the place whereby Hua and her two people were. However, when he just raised his feet, the next moment, his body was suddenly stung. The moment he turned his head, he was in contact with a dark look. At the moment, in the direction east of Xiao Yang, a handsome young man dressed in white robes was staring at him with a smile. His eyes were cold, surprised. In short, it was complex. Looking at the young man in white clothes opposite, Xiao Yang was stunned. Looking at the other party's slightly familiar face, Xiao Yang's mind immediately searched for it. Then, the light in a pair of painted black eyes flashed suddenly, and then suddenly looked up and stared at the young man in white, with a slightly surprised tone. "It's you. Hehe, Xiao Yang, I told you that we would meet again sooner or later in the First World War in the North Sea. Unexpectedly, it has really come true now." Seeing Xiao Yang think of himself, the young man smiled and trembled slightly. In a twinkling of an eye, he had come not far in front of Xiao Yang. They looked at each other with 4 eyes. What had happened at the beginning also appeared in front of him again. Shui Miao. Xiao Yang's eyes were slightly frozen and his voice sank. The young man in white is the opponent Xiao Yangchu met when he came to Beihai University. He is also the first person recognized by Beihai University, Shui Miao. I haven't seen him for many years, but this guy's strength is much stronger than that at the beginning. From the just hand, Shui Miao's cultivation is not under him at the moment. He is also a real source strongman. Hey, I think your cultivation was just fighting the emperor. Now, have you set foot in Yuanzhong? His eyes glanced around Xiao Yang, and Shui Miao's eyelids were slightly low. Although his tone was quite ridiculed, he could not completely cover up the surprise in his heart. Since he left Beihai College at the beginning, he went straight back to the central region and has been devoted to cultivation. Coupled with many cultivation resources of the family, he has just had the cultivation of the 4-star source sect, but he didn't expect that Xiao Yang could reach such a level without the support of any forces. It can really be called terror. Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang smiled non-committally, but didn't say much. At this time, the two middle-aged people below also paced the sky again, came to the side of Shui Miao and saluted respectfully. With the help of the pill, the injuries in the two people's bodies were temporarily suppressed. But at the moment, I was surprised to hear the familiar appearance between Xiao Yang and Shui Miao. Ouyang Shizi, do you know this? Oh, I didn't just know him. I lost to him when I was in Beihai College. Shui Miao smiled calmly, raised his chin and pointed to Xiao Yang. At the same time, a fierce color reappeared in his eyes. As soon as he said this, the two middle-aged people beside him and the rest of the young generation of the ancient nationality also took a breath of cool air, and their faces showed a color of shock. They have heard about that war for a long time. It is said that Shui Miao lost to a peer whose cultivation was much weaker than himself. The war at that time also caused a commotion among their family, but they didn't think it was true. At present, many people can't help but surge into a look of horror when they look at Xiao Yang. At the same time, after hearing the middle-aged man's address to Shui Miao, Xiao Yang couldn't help but pick his eyebrows slightly and said with surprise, "Ouyang? You're from the Ouyang family." "He, Shui Miao is my name in Beihai University. My real name is Ouyang Miao." With a slight nod, Ouyang Miao didn't hide anything, but Xiao Yang was surprised at it. Then he hesitated and continued. "Then Shizi. My father is the head of the Ouyang family." As soon as Ouyang Miao said this, Xiao Yang immediately raised his eyebrows. Although he had guessed in his heart, the current person said it himself. He was still a little unbelievable. "Thank you for what happened just now." Although Ouyang Miao is a little arrogant, he can tell things from people. Looking at the people in black who have lost their breath below, he already knows what happened before. At present, he hugged Xiao Yang politely. Later, the two middle-aged people and the young generation of the ancient nationality saw it and all rushed to salute Xiao Yang respectfully. "It doesn't matter. I just saw the Emperor's seal. If you want to thank me, I'd better thank the elder who created the Emperor's seal." Nodded lightly, Xiao Yang pursed a smile and said. Hearing the speech, the faces of all the ancient people present were stunned, and their hearts were all stunned. However, they returned to their senses and smiled a little happily. After all, Xiao Yang also had the Emperor's seal in his hand. Maybe it was because of this relationship that he took the shot. In this regard, although Ouyang Miao was a little puzzled, his face became a lot warmer. Speaking of it, he and Xiao Yang were old acquaintances. Although they were rivals, their friendship was no worse than that of some friends. In addition, Xiao Yang saved the ancient people. His attitude naturally changed a lot. At this time, Bai Hua and Liana also flew from a distance. When they saw that Xiao Yang had not returned, they found the abnormality here. At present, they were a little nervous until they saw the respectful attitude of the ancient people towards Xiao Yang in front of the public. "It seems that you are not alone. Where are you going?" His eyes paused on Bai Hua and Liana. Ouyang Miao's eyes flashed a slight surprise. Even he smiled at Xiao Yang, who hesitated. He thought that there was a large transmission array where Ouyang's family was located. He couldn't help but be moved by it. His eyes turned and smiled. "Xiao Cheng. As soon as he said this, Ouyang Miao's face was okay. On the other hand, the faces of the ancient people changed in an instant, showing a surprised color. His eyes involuntarily looked at the bodies of those people in black below. His eyes swept back between the two, and he couldn't help raising a wave in his heart. Well, if you go to Xiao City, it will take at least a week from here. Why not? There is a transmission array in the holy gold city of Ouyang's family. Although it can't reach Xiao City directly, it can also slow down a lot of time for you. Why don't you go there? His eyes slowly swept over the three people in front of him, and finally stopped on Xiao Yang. A fine light flashed in his eyes, and Ouyang Miao smiled enthusiastically. Having said that, Xiao Yang can clearly see the fiery war spirit in the latter's eyes. At present, he is also a little hot in his heart. He is also curious about the guy in front of him. He hasn't seen him for many years. I don't know how much Ouyang Miao has reached today. Moreover, his cultivation is just breaking through now. At this time, if you can find an equal opponent to test it, it is also a good choice. Besides, if Brother Xiao didn't fight today, I'm afraid they wouldn't survive. We should be grateful. Besides, you and I have known each other for many years, Brother Xiao. As soon as the voice changed, Ouyang Miao's description of Xiao Yang changed immediately, which also made the distance between them a little closer. Of course, Xiao Yang scoffed at the so-called old knowledge in his words. At the beginning, he just had a war with him in Beihai University, and then he didn't meet again. How can we say friendship? But before Ouyang Miao's voice fell, the latter smiled and nodded, arched his hands and said with a smile, "Well, since Brother Ouyang has such a kind invitation, I'm not polite." Suddenly, there was a burst of laughter between them, but they didn't know whether it was true or false. After laughing, Ouyang Miao seemed to think of something. As soon as he turned his eyes to the bodies below. The look on his face returned to his former calm and arrogance. A cold look flashed in his eyes and asked in a deep voice, "Do you know who these people are?" On one side, the faces of the two middle-aged people of the ancient nationality were suddenly slightly stunned. Their complexion was a little strange. They looked at Xiao Yang. Immediately, they hurried to respectfully return. Hui Shizi is from the Zhao family in Liang City. Aware of the strange eyes in the eyes of those ancient people, Xiao Yang raised his eyebrows and couldn't help feeling a little suspicious. Liang City, under the command of the Xiao family. These years, the Zhao family has become more and more domineering. Unexpectedly, they dare to openly surround and kill our Ouyang family. Hearing the speech, Ouyang Miao suddenly felt a chill on his face. He immediately took a deep breath. When he turned his head, he touched Xiao Yang's eyes. At present, he couldn't help frowning and raised a suspicious heart in his heart, but he didn't say much. At this time, after hearing that these people in black belonged to the forces of the Xiao family, a look of surprise flashed across their smiling cheeks. They didn't expect that this had happened before they were among the Xiao family. No wonder they looked at themselves just now. Shizi, the Zhao family sent more than 10 Yuanwang strong men to surround and kill us this time. I'm afraid it's not a temporary impulse. Maybe it. The two middle-aged people looked at Xiao Yang, but they were blocked by Ouyang Miao's eyes, and then they scolded in a deep voice. Well, since I know who did it, I will naturally ask them for an explanation. As for others, I will deal with them. Ouyang Miao can naturally understand what these guys mean. Those people are not only members of the Xiao family, but also killed by Xiao Yang in front of him. The latter is also surnamed Xiao. There may be some other intentions, but Ouyang Miao has to be much clearer about the origin of Xiao Yang and others. At present, naturally, he will not easily believe that he is really a member of the Xiao family. Besides, as a son of the Ouyang family, for the leaders of the younger generation in the three clans, his heart is clear. For so many years, he has never heard of Xiao Yang among the Xiao clan. Brother Xiao, don't worry. Let's go. He smiled politely. Ouyang Miao made a gesture of invitation to Xiao Yang. The latter nodded slightly and looked at each other with the white birch behind him. Immediately, he flew away with the former side by side towards the east. Half a day later, a huge city located at the end of the avenue gradually appeared in the vision of Xiao Yang and his party. The void was higher. Xiao Yang and others flew forward, looking at the towering wall in the distance, and couldn't help but flash a look of wonder in their eyes. Shengjin City, one of the top large cities in central China, is also one of the 3 major clans in central China. The city directly under Ouyang family is more prosperous than the ordinary cities because of these reasons. This holy golden city is indeed like its name. Its magnificent scale does not tarnish the word holy. Although the ancient city wall stretches to the end is covered with moss, it can still make people feel a calm and thick atmosphere belonging to ancient times. Some scars left on it add a little legend to this huge city, especially before Xiao Yang and others approached. They saw a magnificent sword standing on a huge square outside the city gate. Part of the sword body was directly inserted into the earth, exposing the upper half of the sword body and handle. Until they approached, they gradually saw that 3 powerful characters were engraved on the sword body with magnificent sword spirit. Holy City. Here we are. With a slight smile, Ouyang Miao looked at the magnificent sword standing outside the city, and his eyes couldn't help showing a look of awe. Especially when he noticed the dignified expression on the faces of Xiao Yang and others, he couldn't help a burst of joy in his heart. Looking at the huge sword in front of him, Xiao Yang was shocked, especially when he noticed the 3 big characters on it. The solemnity on his face was even deeper. This sword. Is it true? Although a part of the giant sword is inserted into the earth, it is only the part exposed to the surface, but it still shows its sharp edge. The dark luster makes people feel afraid. Coupled with the vertical and horizontal posture of the sword, it is more powerful and unimaginable. If you were a person with weak mind, I'm afraid I can't even enter the gate of the holy golden city. Hehe, this sword is made by Tianyun Mountain Villa. Naturally, it is true, and its shape is completely cast according to Yulan sword. The 3 words on it are also written by the sword saint himself. The purpose is to suppress some evil guys. Ouyang Miao slightly raised his chin and said with a smile. After hearing the speech, Xiao Yang and others suddenly changed their faces. When they looked at the huge sword in front of them, they couldn't help but show a look of surprise. Yulan sword. Yulan sword saint. Ouyang Yu. Referring to Yulan sword, Xiao Yang immediately thought of the list of Tianyun holy wares he saw when he was in Tianyun Villa. This Yulan sword is the 7th Yulan sword on the list. Its owner is Ouyang Yu, who is called the Yulan sword saint by the outside world. I remember that Luo Jin once said that Ouyang Yu is the most powerful person recognized by Ouyang family. I didn't expect to come to Shengjin City for the first time. I can see the sword spirit left by the strong man. Oh! It seems that Brother Xiao knows a lot about the middle regions. Seeing that Xiao Yang could say Ouyang Yu's name in one word, Ouyang Miao was not surprised. He gently picked his eyebrow and smiled. I've been in Tianyun Mountain Villa for some time before, so I've heard the taboo of the elder. Now I see the sword spirit on it. It's really extraordinary. With his excellent eyesight, Xiao Yang can see that the scar on the giant sword obviously exists for many years, but even for a long time, the sword spirit on it is still domineering. This really has to be shocking. After hearing Xiao Yang's words, Ouyang Miao was surprised. At the same time, he seemed to think of something in his heart and said in surprise, Brother Xiao was in Tianyun Villa before? So, is it because of you that the war in Tianyun Villa half a year ago? Ouyang Miao naturally heard about the amazing battle that took place in Tianyun Mountain Villa. It is said that at that time, it was only a battle between Dui sect and Tianyun Mountain Villa, but in the end, it involved Yunxian sect and Ghost Temple. The root cause was a group of people who came from the mainland border and entered Tianyun Mountain Villa to seek asylum. At the moment, once Xiao Yang mentioned it, Ouyang Miao immediately thought of it. In this regard, Xiao Yang didn't hide anything. It matters a lot. He can't hide it if he wants to hide it. Now that it has been explained, there is naturally no need to shirk it. In a few simple words, Xiao Yang covered the war. However, when he took back his eyes, Ouyang Miao clearly saw the cold killing intention in Xiao Yang's eyes. It can be seen that the war in Tianyun Villa must have happened. Xiao Yang didn't say, he naturally didn't ask much. Then Ouyang Miao briefly explained a few words about the giant sword. Xiao Yang and others learned that the giant sword was forged by the Yulan sword saint after fighting against the 3 source masters. On the one hand, it was to frighten the heroes. On the other hand, it was also natural to want to expand the Ouyang family in the name of the Yulan Sword Saint, and they did it. Today's Ouyang family has an unshakable position in the central region. Although the three major clans in the central region are equally famous, the Ouyang family is undoubtedly the most powerful of the three. Different from the other two families who stick to the blood of the clan, the Ouyang family wantonly gathers in outsiders to enhance their own details. There are many people with foreign names in the clan. Looking at the middle region, there are many small families that are affiliated forces of the Ouyang family, and the ancient family is one of them. Under such expansion, there is no doubt about the huge power of Ouyang family. What is even more surprising is that under such strong expansion, there has never been any civil strife within Ouyang family. If the reputation outside comes from Ouyang Yu, the saint of Yulan sword, then the stability inside is guided by the leader of Ouyang family. The ancient people left by themselves at the gate of the city. Xiao Yan and the three people followed Ouyang Miao and rested temporarily in another garden of Ouyang's family in the city. Their original intention was to leave here with the help of the transmission array of Shengjin City, but it was hard for them to shirk Ouyang Miao's kind invitation. Moreover, Liana has been full of resentment for more than a month. It was also to let the little girl have a good rest that the three stayed. Of course, Xiao Yang also knows that Ouyang Miao's purpose is just to fight with himself again. However, until the next day. The next day. When the first ray of morning light poured down from the sky, the Holy Gold City, which had been silent all night, became noisy again. Outside the Holy Gold City, countless people gathered like ants towards the city. On a huge square in the center of the city, 3 huge stone platforms were built here. All the mysterious runes were depicted on the stone platforms to form 3 large transmission arrays. Compared with the 5-order transmission array, the 7-order large transmission array has greatly improved both in terms of transmission number and distance. Looking at the middle region, those who can have the 7-order transmission array are also subordinate cities where the major forces in the middle region are located and state cities in some places, and those who can have 3 7-order transmission arrays are even fewer. Even among the 3 clans, only Ouyang family has it, and it has placed the transmission array in its own directly affiliated city. Although Ouyang family's move is generous, in the eyes of some forces, it is undoubtedly a kind of crazy or foolish behavior. After all, placing the transmission array in the city directly under their own family can bring considerable economic benefits, but at the same time, it will also bring potential crisis to themselves. In case of enemy attack, the transmission array will give the opponent the best means of thunder. No matter advance or retreat, it is the easiest choice. Fortunately, with the strong inside information of Ouyang family, this kind of thing can't happen. With the continuous start of the transmission array, there are more and more strong people from all sides gathered in the city, and their strength cannot be underestimated. Compared with the strong Yuan Huang who can dominate one side in the southern region, they are only ordinary passers-by in this Shengjin city. Even the strong Yuanzong are not a few, and even the strong Yuanzuan level. When the morning meeting poured into the room, Xiao Yang, sitting cross-legged on the bed, slowly opened his eyes. After a night's breath adjustment, the fatigue of traveling in January was swept away, and the whole person's state was at the peak. The source gas in his body flowed like a mountain torrent, and the sense of power was full of all his limbs and bones. As if he only moved a little, the whole body will turn into a human machine and destroy everything in front of it. Who? There was a flash of fire in his calm dark eyes. Xiao Yang seemed to have expected what would happen today. There was a sense of war in his heart. After many years, I don't know how far Ouyang Miao has reached. Jumping down from the bed, Xiao Yang walked out of the door slowly, but he saw that White Birch and Lotus were already waiting in the courtyard. Do you want to go or stay? At the moment Xiao Yang appeared, Bai Hua could feel the powerful flowing source gas in her body. Coupled with Ouyang Miao's posture yesterday, she naturally knew what would happen today. Of course I have to go, but before that, I'd better say hello to the host's house. Xiao Yang chuckled and looked a little confident in his eyes. Seeing this, Bai Hua smiled and nodded. He patted Liana, who was lying lazily on the stone table, and lifted it up. After that, the 3 of them went to other gardens. When they got out of Biayuan, they saw Ouyang Miao coming straight towards them. It seemed that they had just arrived. He, 3, are you leaving? When he came near, Ouyang Miao smiled brightly. Xiao Yang looked at his breath and seemed to be at the peak of his qi. Although they didn't say much, they had already understood the meaning in their hearts. I really have to go, but Brother Ouyang wants me to stay. In my opinion, Brother Xiao may not be in a hurry to leave. The two men looked at each other, and their eyes looked more and more fierce. Even the emptiness between them was slightly distorted. This scene also surprised the two guards in front of Bieyuan. In front of the Bieyuan gate, Xiao Yang turned his head to look at the white birch on one side and nodded slightly. The latter suddenly understood and withdrew a distance back with Liana. Xiao Yang then looked back at Ouyang Miao again. While the flame surged in his eyes, he said in a dark voice, "How? Ha, it's direct enough. In that case, I won't drag you. The old rule is that 100 rounds will decide the outcome." As soon as the laughter fell, Ouyang Miao stamped his feet on the ground and retreated back for a distance. While the fire on their faces became stronger and stronger, the vigorous source gas in their bodies also ran quickly. This battle was not necessarily a full-scale battle, but it was destined to be a hearty battle. However, when the atmosphere between the two people was gradually tense, there was a light laughter, but it suddenly interrupted the atmosphere on the court. Brother Ouyang, I haven't seen you for many days. Why are you suddenly interested in fighting with others? Even if you want to fight, I should be your opponent. How can a Xingyuan sect deserve to fight with you? At the same time when the laughter came out, Xiao Yang and the others immediately turned their eyes to the place where the sound came from. Xiao Yang frowned lightly and was not very interested in this guy's words. At the moment, the latter's face showed an expression of disgust, but it was only for a moment that they were immediately restrained by him, and all the source gas just overflowed from his body was taken back. All four looked at one side of the street without expression. Xiao Yang saw that a young man in white was looking at Ouyang Miao with a warm smile. Although his face was indeed warm, it was just a smile, but there was a feminine smell. Behind the young man in white, there were 3 old men who followed him. Xiao Yang's eyes swept over the 3 men, and his eyes could not help but coagulate slightly. The 2 old men behind were not weaker than Luo Xiong, the elder of Tianyun Villa. They were 2 strong men at the level of Xingyuan sect. As for the old man standing in front, when his eyes fell on the latter, Xiao Yang was even more surprised. Yuanzuan. The old man's expression is scattered, his hands are inserted between his sleeves, and he looks no different from an ordinary old man. However, with his strong soul perception, Xiao Yang can detect that this old man must be a strong man whose cultivation reaches the level of source respect. The appearance of the young man in white broke the atmosphere on the court in an instant. The 2 guards in front of the door looked a little unhappy when they saw the 4 people in the line. Obviously, the young man in white was not very good in their impression. By Ruoxuan, they are my guests. I hope you can speak with more respect. Ouyang Miao's tone was a little heavy, and he skimmed his lips. While speaking, Ouyang Miao came to Xiao Yang and whispered, "Be careful, this guy. He's from the white family. He's not a good bird." As soon as Ouyang Miao said this, Xiao Yang immediately raised his eyebrows and showed surprise in his eyes. What can remind the former is naturally the Bai family, which is one of the 3 major clans. Looking at the people in front of him in surprise, Xiao Yang was full of surprise. He came to the middle region to go to the Xiao family. Unexpectedly, the people of the Xiao family haven't met yet, but they have met the people of the 2 families. Moreover, according to what Luo Ao said at the beginning, the Black Jade ruler seems to be in the white family. At this time, there was a sudden change in Xiao Yang's ring. Since you are Brother Ouyang's friend, I will take back what I said just now. You are not unworthy, but you don't have that strength. By Ruoxuan, this is my holy golden city. As soon as Bai Ruoxuan's voice fell, Ouyang Miao's low voice suddenly sounded. The former sneered at Xiao Yang, turned to Ouyang Miao and said with a warm smile, "Brother Ouyang, don't be angry. I'm here to see the master. As long as you tell me where the teacher is, I'll leave now." While Bai Ruoxuan said this, his eyes flickered slightly, and a hand slowly put on the ring. The mood in his heart moved slightly. Teacher, my second uncle never promised to take you as an apprentice. I advise you to save your mind. Hearing the speech, Ouyang Miao's face sank and whispered. One hand slowly turned the ring between his fingers. Bai Ruoxuan smiled as if he didn't care, and immediately smiled. Brother Ouyang, why do you say that? Although the teacher has no plan to accept disciples for the time being, I have recognized this master. The so-called sincerity and gold and stone are open. I think there will be such a day sooner or later. But at least not today. My second uncle is closed recently. Please go back. After that, Ouyang Miao turned his head and looked at Xiao Yang. At the moment, the latter was holding the Naji tightly in his palm. His face looked slightly unnaturally at Bai Ruoxuan opposite. He just felt that something in the Naji seemed to be more and more uncontrollable and wanted to rush out. At this time, Xiao Yang reluctantly smiled when he saw Ouyang Miao looking at himself. Under the sign of the former, the two and the white birch on one side wanted to go to the other side of the street. Wait a minute. At this time, Bai Ruoxuan's voice came again. Ouyang Miao turned impatiently and looked forward, frowning and saying in a rather low tone. What else do you want to do? I don't want to. Can you break through? He, brother Ouyang misunderstood. I'm not trying to break in. I just want your friend to see something. Bai Ruoxuan smiled softly, and immediately the palm of his hand on the ring was slowly spread out. While his mind was turning, the void of his right hand was slowly clenched. Almost at the same time, between the palms of his right hand, a giant ruler with a whole body like white jade emerged slowly. Looking at its appearance, it was just the same as the Xian heavy ruler. This is Xuanyu ruler. Ouyang Miao frowned. There seemed to be other impressions in his mind about the giant ruler in Bai Ruoxuan's hand, but he couldn't remember it for a moment. Xiao Yang, who was on his side at the moment, was trying to control the ring in his hand. To be exact, it was the Xian heavy ruler that was shaking violently at this time. Since Bai Ruoxuan and others came here earlier, Xiao Yang clearly noticed that the Xian heavy ruler in the ring was shaking uncontrollably. It was like being pulled by something. Fortunately, with the isolation of the ring, Xiao Yang could barely suppress it. However, now, Bai Ruoxuan took the Xian jade ruler out of his ring. The mysterious ruler in Xiao Yang's ring is naturally difficult to control. Oh, my friend, since he has been discovered, why deliberately hide it? Looking at the world, there is only one thing that can make my Xuanyu ruler change. Bai Ruoxuan stared at Xiao Yang with a sneer on his face. His eyes twinkled. If he was not sure where the change of Xuanyu ruler came from, then at the moment, he could be sure that the feeling came from Xiao Yang in front of him. In this regard, Xiao Yang is also full of dignity. When he is in Shengjin City, he will actually meet the people of the Bai family. What's more, he didn't expect that the other party actually has a Xuanyu ruler in his hand. In addition, these people behind Bai Ruoxuan at the moment, once his Shenchong ruler is exposed in front of them, I'm afraid the situation will be extremely unfavorable to him. Do you want to hold on? Since you won't, let me help you. At the same time of the cold laughter in his mouth, Bai Ruoxuan immediately stepped on the ground. At the same time, he waved a white-black jade ruler with one hand. His body was like lightning and swept away towards Xiao Yang. In the twinkling of an eye, he had come to the latter with disdain on his face and fell on his head against Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang's side, Bai Hua and Ouyang Miao wanted to fight, but they were stopped by the two Baxingyuan sect who followed them. At present, they had to watch the giant ruler in Bai Ruoxuan's hand fall heavily. The cold wind pressure hit Xiao Yang's face, but on the contrary, his face became calm, and the palm holding Naji relaxed slowly, and then the next second. Dang! With the deafening sound of metal and iron collision, the hum immediately spread among the streets. The faces of the two bodyguards in front of Bieyuan suddenly changed. An invisible wave of energy swept between Xiao Yang and Bai Ruoxuan like a hurricane. At this moment, as like as two peas in the dark, the sire was holding a black ruler, and he was holding a short and thick stop. He was able to resist the coming of a white ruler. But the man who had a heart could see that the giant feet in the hands of the two men were almost identical except for the black and white. Bang! Then, the two slapped their hands on the ruler body in their hands. When the collision between the two occurred again, their bodies were backward for several steps. Then, they waved their ruler to look at each other. It's really a Xian-heavy ruler, Bai Ruoxuan snorted coldly, but he had a successful smile on his face. Xiao Yang was non-committal. The palm of his hand holding Shenchong ruler trembled slightly. Suddenly, the roaring flame lingered on the ruler. In a short time, the temperature suddenly rose a lot between the heaven and earth where everyone was, and even the ground under his feet was cracked by the high temperature. Hey! It's a strange fire. At that moment, the old man not far behind by Ruoxuan finally raised his head, looked at Xiao Yang with a slightly surprised look on his old face, and his old eyes narrowed slowly. Then he said, "Young man, it's precious that you can get the approval of different fire. I won't intervene in this matter. As long as you hand over the mysterious ruler in your hand, you can leave safely." Xiao Yang's eyes swept over the old man. While the dignified color in his eyes grew stronger, he pulled back behind him with one hand, stared at the latter with his eyes, slowly opened his mouth, and at the same time, a white jade array plate also fell into his hand. What if I don't? This video will end here.